sometimes I feel like there's a vulnerability involved with thumbnailingtons. Where it's like Isybelle gets to see us go through our wandering, like, you know, it's like, what do you think you're going to talk about today? So that you were like, oh, I bet I could use like a curious,
right?
They're thoughtful and excited.
Yeah, feels like there's always room for like a shocked face. Always just a good smile face is always just like, you can't really go wrong with that. There's a good like disgusted in there. Sometimes I'm like, what haven't I done yet? I'm like, maybe I'll just throw that in there so it's there.
Say, what else can I do? Bring it in, bring it in, bring it in, bring it in. What's poppin', everybody? Hello and welcome to Popcorn Culture. My name is Ben Carlin and I am your host. Here with me today is my brother Jay, who will be in every episode.
That's me.
Yeah, it is you. You're here. You're doing it. So, okay. So before every episode, we've talked about this before, but we in case anybody's ever wondered, like on the YouTube channel, if you see like the thumbnails, there's always like these like big facial expressions that we're making, and it's kind of like, oh man, like it was good on somebody to go through and find that moment where they were like, oh look, big thoughtful face or whatever. But the peek behind the curtain is that before we record every episode, we do thumbnailingtons.
We do thumbnailingtons
as we call it. So we move the microphones aside and we like make facial expressions at the camera and try to find something that like ultimately reflects the kind of conversation we had in each week's episode. But there's a weird thing, like, and I have no idea, and I'm curious if this happens to you when it comes to like your facial expressions, because we had an instance in office, I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, where I was recording a video on the Super Carlin Brothers set, and in like what was happening in real time was a major storm overhead.
Like outside,
yes. And so what like came to pass was there was a blip in the electricity, and the only thing that went off in our entire office was the edit bay that Ethan, the editor, was working at, where he was like mid like edit on like a timely video that needed to go out, and content was lost. And so like I'm sitting there recording, and all of a sudden all I hear is just like a bang, you know, from the other room, which is just the extremely understandable frustration
from Ethan.
That was just sort of like we were on a time crunch. He was going as hard as he possibly could, and you know, I think it ended up not being as bad as we thought it was going to be, but in the moment it was like we just lost progress, and like we didn't have the time to lose that progress. But the point is that what it caught from me was a very genuine look of like shock.
Yeah.
That then was just recorded on camera.
Yeah.
Woo! All good? And so unlike the thumbnailingtons where, you know, you're trying to like make a face or whatever, this was like me getting to see in the footage what I look like when I am shocked or like suddenly like jolted.
Yeah.
And I was like, goodness, the level of, I was like, is that how intense I look? Like, is that what people expect? Like when you're just standing in the room and something happens and you can see my face, is that what you see?
Right.
So I don't know. Do you ever have this? Like it's not uncommon for our editors here to do. They call it the J face of the day or the Ben face of the day, which is like, you know, it could be in between takes while we're filming something. It could just be a pause screen where like our face is like looking awfully hilarious, and they oftentimes share it with us, and it's kind of like, wow, I can't believe my face is capable of making
like when do I ever look like that? Come on now, geez.
Right. Yes, but our faces are being recorded quite often,
so many of our facial expressions are captured.
Yes.
I mean, like, whenever I see the freeze frames, I am always like, God, man, it's such a weird... Like, I remember that from when I used to edit the videos, and it's just, like, nonstop, because you're constantly, like, pausing the video to go do the next thing, and it's just like, do I ever look normal? Like I understand if sometimes I catch myself in a weird freeze frame, but it shouldn't be like 90% of the time.
No,
right?
I feel like you're better at it than me. Like I even the office consensus is that you have a more pausable face.
A more pausable face. Meaning what, that I like hold an expression more?
Maybe you hold an expression more, maybe like the in-betweens. Like I feel like a lot of times I look like the meme of the guy that's like aliens, you know,
right. like the tinfoil hat guy.
The tinfoil hat guy, yeah. Like that's like my go-to boss face. I don't know. It's weird, but I've also always sort of had this feeling about myself. I mean, everybody talks about like when they hear their voice in recording.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to get used to like, is that what my voice sounds like?
Yeah.
You know? But I've oftentimes even felt this way about myself, like in photos and stuff where I'm like, I think I am a non-photogenic human being.
No,
like
nonsense.
Absolute
nonsense. Whenever maybe it's like you only notice it about yourself, but like I'll look like group pictures or whatever, and I'll always be like, why am I the only one who looks so dumb? Like everyone else is such a good pose, and there I am hunched over like an idiot off in the corner, or like, oh yep, I leaned the wrong way. I hate whenever people are like, let's do a table selfie, like and everyone has to like look down and lean in. Like my body's not good, is not good at being captured in this position.
Yeah,
like wherever it is, I'm either like because you have to like stretch your neck out to like a weird angle. It's like I got a long neck and it looks weird and it just like flows too weirdly into my face, and I never like it at all. Or a lot of times people ask me to take it because I've got like long arms or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So then I'm the person at the front, so I'm kind of like off in the corner and my face is like extra big because I'm closest to the camera. I'm just like, they're fun pictures, but like I don't ever like them. Like, and I think about it so much. Like, how can I adjust what do I need to do? Should I like try and face my shoulders more? Like, don't stretch your neck, like look down a little. I used to do that a lot. I would like, whenever I would do these, I'd be like looking up because I'm like trying to look at the camera or something. And I realized that I was like, look down. It's okay. This is how your face looks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, eyes up, chin down. Yeah. Like I've never quite been able to master it. I'm like maybe better than I used to be, but not mine.
No, I think this is probably just something like where it's like you're always going to be more inclined to pick apart your own appearance because you're like you're just so dialed into your like how you look in any given photo.
Yeah.
Because I tend to feel the same way, like where I will have such a hate relationship with those photos like the moment it's taken. But then Alice and I are like, you know, one of our evening things that I feel like we so frequently like find ourselves doing is just basically like instead of scrolling, you know, like socials or whatever, like one of us will just like open our camera roll and go back to, you know, like June 2022 when we're looking at photos from like that family trip we took or whatever. And it's like, when I see it then I'm like, oh, I feel like I remember hating this photo when I took it, but now looking back on it, like I'm like, that was a great photo. What a good memory.
Oh, we look so good.
I'm glad we captured that lunch.
That lunch.
Yeah.
I'm like, I look weird in this table selfie. Yeah.
Like, even after time.
Yeah.
Oh no.
What I still see. The other thing I love doing is jumping photos.
Oh,
where,
yes.
like, you know, like you're both in the air or whatever, and it like looks really fun. However, my big self-complaint is that whenever I do this, my shirt will come up and like my stomach will be revealed, and it will always look bad. Like because you're like in the air and there's like a certain amount of like gravity just sort of like moving your body around.
Yeah, there's nothing attractive about 0G tummy.
Exactly, Ben. There's nothing attractive about 0G tummy. And like I've been in so many of these pictures specifically with you, and I don't know what kind of shirt magic you're pulling off. It never happens to you, and it always happens to me.
I have no idea.
My stomach will always be showing, and the rest of the picture will be amazing. We'll be like midair, we'll be in front of some fun background, and it's like we look so excited, and it's like then I'm like, but there's this. And then I look over at yours and it's just like, nope, Ben's shirt doesn't gravity doesn't apply to Ben's shirt. It's always just perfectly around your waist and it's not a problem.
You gotta buy gravity
I know.
pro gravity shirts.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Extra density or something.
I'm like, do I need to like, should I be like tucking my shirt in? And I'm like, that's a worse picture. Almost certainly.
Yeah.
Just,
so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what to do about it.
For what it's worth, again, I think it's probably you.
It probably is.
Wait, what do you mean? It's
probably just me.
Oh, like you think you're zeroing in on something.
Yeah. Like I'm sure that everyone's not looking at it and me and like, wow, Jay maybe hit the gym or something.
Jay does hit the gym.
Yeah.
Jay hits the gym plenty.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's I don't know. It's the photo thing. It's you have to be so critical of yourself. But the thing I do love about jumping photos is I always feel like you look like you're like 97 feet in the air.
Absolutely.
Like,
you do. Yeah.
I don't know how this happens because I mean, you and I are both springy people, I would say.
Yeah.
Like I think we've got like okay ups.
I think we can jump like a little bit higher than your average person.
Right. Yes, we're in that like 71 percentile sweet spot.
Right.
Where it's like we don't jump high compared to people who jump high, but maybe we jump high compared to people who jump 50th percentile.
Right. Yeah. Which is most people.
Yeah. However, these photos I feel like it's like they're not photoshopped at all. But I always I think when we were on tour, we did one of these on stage because we're doing like sound check or whatever. And we were like, oh, you guys look cool up there. Like, let's take some photos before everybody files in. And so we do like one of our jumping photos and somebody was filming the photo of the jumping photo. And I feel like the photo looks like you and I are like easily 48 inches off the ground.
Right.
And then the video of it, it's like maybe like jumped like 15 inches off the ground. And I'm like, I literally don't know what happened inside of the photo that makes it look like we are so high.
I think what happens is like when you do the jumping photo, you bring your legs and your feet very high up.
Maybe that's
like
part of it.
Your like butt, more or less. There's not much you can do about that. Like, you know, if you and I are jumping, our butt is maybe coming 1 foot higher or something.
Right.
Maybe I don't know how high we jump, but for the sake of it, let's say your waist and your butt moves 1 foot off the ground worth of jumping, but which starts already at like three feet off the ground or whatever.
Oh, that's a good point.
But you bring your feet and your legs all the way up there,
right,
which makes it look like you jumped. You didn't actually jump 4 feet high. You jumped like 1 feet high, but because you lifted your legs and knees so high, it looks really impressive.
It's an illusion.
It's an illusion. Yes. Something like that.
Yes.
But then you see like Noah Lyles before he starts the 100 meter, and it does look like, boy, man, he just jumped like 7 feet off the ground. How do you do that?
Well, you know, he is the fastest man on the planet right now.
Have you seen that?
Maybe he just is jumping.
I know. Him and Tyreek Hill of the Kansas City Chiefs have apparently been having some beef about who would win the race.
No way. Tyreek Hill wants to go up against the...
Well, Noah Lyles is like, I'd love to train that guy. And Tyreek Hill was like, I'd beat Noah Lyles. And it was like, what?
Oh, dang.
Like,
okay.
The weird thing is that like Tyreek Hill is probably most frequently measured at the 40-meter dash.
Sure.
Because that's like the football like marker or whatever.
Yep.
Whereas Noah Lyles obviously at like the 100-meter. And like, but he is known for having a specifically bad start. Like even in the 100-meter dash, by the 40-meter mark, he was in last place, and then by 100 meters, he was winning.
Okay,
obviously. So it's like it would not surprise me if Tyreek Hill could beat him in a 40-meter dash, but I don't know about 100 meters.
Right.
Yeah.
It's that quick start. Like
it's that quick start. Yeah, but man, dude, how great would it be if they actually have a race?
Oh my gosh,
that'd be so fun,
dude. It would be super fun if even like, you know, because the world of like imagine this, like the world of like boxing, you know, like. Yeah. There's a lot of what's the term I'm looking for, like showmanship, I believe, that is involved with the build up to the fight, where it is not uncommon, especially in the modern era, for them to be like for the combatants to be taking jabs at one another, like publicly, to where it's basically just sort of like a diss track, you know. It's kind of like this guy's got nothing on me, they've got nothing on me, like I'm gonna say something about whatever, and
right, they better reserve a hospital bed for that guy,
right? Yes, and so it's like to me it's almost as if like there is no doubt about it that the boxers themselves are kind of like going into meetings being like, okay, so like what could be our latest dish, you know, like
right,
like there it's not personal, it's part of the show.
It's absolutely part of the show. Yeah, which like, and like that for Noah Lyles is definitely part of his persona.
Yes.
It is like but and I was so interested watching this during the Olympics, because for so many of the different like disciplines, like for like the gymnastics, which was like what led off the Olympics, like they would talk to, I can't remember his name, the guy who was like from Alabama or something. He was like so stoic and so humble, and they kept harping on this like message from his dad that was like, you know, don't ever talk about how good you are, just go show them how good you are.
Right.
You know, it'll all come out in the wash or whatever.
Right. Yep.
And it was just like, yeah, that's right. That's how you should be or whatever. And then you get to Noah Lyles, and it's just like the complete opposite.
It's like, bring it.
Yeah. It's just like big talk all the time. I'm going to win. I'm going to make a huge show out of it. And it's just like, in the end, he did win. So, you know, he put his money where his mouth is. But it's like, it was so, but then they were talking about it, and they're like, no, like, why is it like this? Like, why would you look at like our gymnast guy and be like, that's how you should be? And then also look at Noah Lyles and be like, yes, this is okay.
Right.
One, because he has the skill to do it. But two, they were saying it's like, it is about like, because the 100 meters is like an extremely mental race. Like it is like the act of having such a big ego and making such a big show out of everything is like a way to keep his confidence up, so that when he does it's like it reminded me of the movie The Prestige, where like they're the two guys, Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale, like watching this old man do this crazy trick on stage, and like they show you how he do it, and he's like holding this like giant bowl of water between his legs, but then whenever he's in public he looks crippled, and which is why when you watch him on stage you're like, well, how on earth could he be doing it? And it's like, because at every moment he's not on stage, he is performing for the world, so that when he's on stage you can't figure out how he did it.
Right.
And it's like the same thing. It's like he is running that race. It's not just keeping his own confidence up, but it's like getting in the minds of his opponents. And it's like every time he's out there being loud and flashy, like whether they believe him, whether they think he's just being an idiot, it doesn't mean they're not thinking about him.
Exactly.
And the more they think about him, whether they think they can beat him or not, they're like a little bit more worried. And then when he's on the starting block next to him, it's like, oh man, there he is. Like, God.
Like, yeah. This is like larger than life personality.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, as much as you don't want like intimidation to be a factor, and as much as you think you should be able to rise above it, sometimes you can't. And you know, that is like why it is like part of his repertoire. It's like when he's not racing, he's racing. You know?
Yes. And I mean, and there's a huge aspect in that regard of that's kind of like positive as far as like big egos go, because it's like what he's doing is kind of betting on himself. Like, it's like going all in on me. And if I've talked this big talk and then lose, it's like, yeah, I'm going to have to come back from that.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be difficult. But it's also like, at this stage, this is the match. This is the race. You know, it's like it all boils down to the gold medal Olympics. Like, that is the top, the epitome of the sport, the pinnacle of the sport. And so it's kind of like, yeah, go all in now, because it's either going to work and bolster your confidence to make you, you know, like a potential future greatest of all time, or it doesn't work, but it's like, if not now, then when?
Right.
You know, it's like, this is the stage, you know, where it's like, if you're playing poker, it's come down to the last two people and you've got a great hand and you slide all your chips across the table. And it's like, I can't imagine I'm going to get a better hand than this.
Right.
So now's the time. Now's when you go.
Now I'm all in.
And of course, obviously it's not just ego, it is skill. And that's another interesting one as well, because I think oftentimes when you think of ego, there is such disparity between what the facade is and the skill to back it up. Like oftentimes egos are not backed by skill, and the disparity is kind of like the issue. But when it comes to an Olympic athlete, the ego that should match their ability, it's like it stands to be rather extraordinary.
Right.
Because they are extraordinary.
They are extraordinary.
You know?
Yeah. And it's like, I think they showed an interview between Noah and Usain Bolt, or just not even an interview, just like them talking.
Yeah.
And because like it was like post Usain Bolt's like retirement, him talking to like Noah Lyles, saying like, your energy, you got to keep it up. Like the sport needs this. Like that's what it wants. Like, because he was the same way.
Right.
You know, just like, but it was very much just like, yes, I'm the fastest. What are you going to do about it? Like,
his last name was Bolt.
And his first name sounds like insane.
Yes.
You know, it just sounds like his name was like, they basically named him Insane Speed, and then he was.
Yes. It's like he like manifested the name of what he was supposed to be.
Yeah, like he was the name of Speed, and that guy was unbelievable. It's like, I'm not sure anyone was going to It's like, will we leave to see his record broken?
Oh, who knows?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like, I think it's like one of those things where I don't want to dig too deep, because if his name is actually like Henry Smith, it would be like, oh. You know, like, can you imagine if it's like a stage name, like
Usain Bolt?
Usain Bolt.
Oh,
yeah, like,
no, that can't be.
I mean, no, I'm not suggesting it is.
Yeah.
But could you imagine if it was like, oh, it's so perfect.
It's so perfect.
For exactly what you do.
Right?
Is it too perfect?
Yeah. Do you know what else I love about Noah Lyle, though? Is that he would carry Exodia the Forbidden with him in his track singlet for races.
Okay, you're going to have to give way more information for carrying Exodia.
Exodia the Forbidden one. So if you don't know.
Jay, people don't know.
People don't know? Okay, so.
Ones of people got it.
Definitely not. More than ones. In the trading card game, Yu-Gi-Oh!, which certainly you've heard of.
Yeah, I mean, you heard of. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So there is in the very base set, there was a series of cards called Exodia the Forbidden One. And if you had all 5 pieces, it was 5 separate cards. The monster, it was like split into 5 cards. So you had the head, the left arm, the right arm, the left leg, and the right leg. And if you managed to get all 5 cards in your hand at the same time, you could just turn your hand over and show your opponent and say, I win. That's the win condition, is you get all 5 pieces of Exodia, you've assembled him, you win. That's it. Game over, nothing they can do. That's it.
Yeah.
And so like in the very first episode of Yu-Gi-Oh!, this is what the main character Yugi uses to defeat.
Yug!
Yeah. Yug! This is what he uses to defeat his eternal rival Seto Kaiba, who has the 3 blue eyes white dragons. And what's he gonna do? Assemble Exodia. But he only ever gets to use it once, because then they get thrown in the water, and he never has it again. But
so Noah carries Exodia.
So more or less, even today, even in modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, you can still assemble Exodia and win instantly. It's not very good strategy. It's difficult to do, and they've made other ways to like use the cards to summon different versions of Exodia onto the field. None of which are the ultimate win condition that Exodia is, but since the beginning, it has been like the understood most powerful being in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe.
Okay.
So Noah Lyles carries Exodia the Forbidden with him while he runs, as if like he's untouchable. You know, he's that good. I've assembled all 5 pieces. I'm Exodia. You know.
See, I think with explanation that
it's so good.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and it also is just like, dude, I love that you know about Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah,
I love that you're also a little bit of a nerd.
I know there is something truly glorious when you discover. Like I think just to give a couple other examples, you've got like Post Malone. I think bought like from the Magic the Gathering. They released like the Lord of the Rings set, and he bought like there is one single one. True,
the ring.
Yes, and he bought it, I think, for over $1 million. And then I think
Post Malone also has a 1-of-1 Pokemon card of himself.
No way.
It's Post Malone V. Yes,
that is incredible.
Yes,
nobody else should have it.
No one else should have it, but it's like there's that, and there's a third one that is also another card that has been made just for him. That is like that he owns. So he owns 3 1-of-1 cards from trading card games.
Very unbelievable.
It's so cool. Anyway, go
ahead. The day when it comes where Post Malone's net worth via pieces of cardboard he owns is worth more than his platinum records. It's like 60 years from now, and people are like, oh yes. Yeah. I don't know why we've gotten so aged.
Yeah.
But anyway, probably super valuable at some point.
Probably. I mean, I'm sure they're all very valuable. The one ring is that'll be valuable no matter what.
Yeah, forever and ever.
Yeah.
And then who is the guy who played Superman? I feel like he is also Henry Cavill.
Yes.
He is also, I think, like a big time nerd out there in the world.
I think it's Warhammer. Is that the game he plays?
Yes.
It's with like miniatures, and he like makes them and paints them and does all the things.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's so
incredible.
Good. I love it.
Just not what you expect.
Yes.
But then it's like that makes it all the better.
Right. It's like even him being, I think he's like the lead in Witcher too, and it's because he like just like loves the video games.
Right.
It's like that's why I wanted to be it.
Absolutely. Of course. You look like you and have this personality. Amazing.
I know.
Amazing.
It's just like, I know. Okay. Awesome.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
So yeah, I love it. I love it when there's like huge celebrities you wouldn't expect to be like kind of nerdy in this fun way.
Yes, exactly. But so right there we might be able to take a transition.
Oh,
Okay, Jay, I'm going to try. I'm going to do my darned best here.
Do your darned best.
Okay. So I have like a lengthy note.
I noticed in here, notes. I didn't even read it all. I was like, Ben's just going to have to explain it to me.
Yeah. So, okay. So like me and Alice and I are, where to start?
Where to begin?
It's like I'm afraid to lead with the phrase joining a cult.
Oh God.
No, we're not joining a cult, but like it's like I feel like whenever I almost need to start with a very extreme version of what I'm about to say, because I feel like then it softens the blow when I finally start using the words that are involved.
Okay.
But Alice recently, she just like me, we both go through like our therapeutic journeys out there in the world, mental health, all that type of stuff. Alice recently delved into hypnosis.
Oh boy.
Where she had found like a local person and she was like, should I try this? Like, I think it would be like really interesting. And I was like, personally, I was just like on the edge of my seat. I was like, I just want to know what happened.
I just want to know what happened.
Like, were you hypnotized? Like, did it work?
Well, so I would imagine like therapeutic hypnosis is not like stage show hypnotism.
Correct. Yeah. Like it's the goal is not like, to go and cluck like a chicken or perform, acts of gymnastics or something like that. It's more, like attempting to sort of put your brain in such a space that you're able to like maybe take out traumatic pieces or something like that, the sharp pointy ones that you don't want to access for some other reason and then humanize them by handling them. I think is going to be my layman's Ben's interpretation of what was supposed to happen.
I think there you can do that, and then in high school in psychology, once upon a time they had a hypnotist come. And I guess people could go and like watch or whatever, but it would have been really boring to watch. But if you were in the psychology class, you could like volunteer to be one of the people. And I did, and I was.
Did you think you were hypnotized?
I think it achieved what they were trying to achieve.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they could have like suggested me to like do stuff.
Okay.
But it wasn't like that. It was very much like it was like a guided, almost more like a guided meditation or like a guided hypnosis. But it was like basically what they asked me to do was like they had like an easel with like a little like a dot on it or something.
Okay.
And they were like, focus on the dot. And just sort of like that was like your focal point for everyone doing it. And you just like stared at it and tried not to blink. And they would like kind of like it was like very guided, which helped a lot.
Yes.
I felt like, but the idea was to like not move your eyes at all. Stay on the dot as long as I'm talking. Think about this. Don't take your eyes from the dot. Focus on your breathing. Look at the dot or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, and
go right ahead. Yeah.
And it was really weird. I think, but like it got to the point where like everything became like black and white, like weirdly, like nothing, like everything like faded out, like all the background, and like there was a bunch of people like behind the easel, so everything became like black and white in my vision, which was really weird.
Okay.
But then like at the same rate, then I remember like at one point someone like sneezed or something, and when they did that, they like brought their arm up, and like their like shirt sleeve was like red, and it was like the most vibrant red I'd ever seen.
No way.
Yeah, it was like everything, like any movement at all was like insane colors. And that is mostly what I remember from it. This was like everything kind of going black and white and then the colors. And I guess they were saying that this was like, the guy doing it can like, do it to himself. And they can basically just like, he said he had like a knot on the wall in his office, and he would just like stare at it, and he could like, do it, and he could basically work in like a 2-hour nap inside of like 15 minutes basically by doing this and
interesting
stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, that's my lone experience with hypnosis,
which I have to imagine is more than many people have experienced.
Yeah.
And the guided meditation aspect of it, I actually think makes a lot of sense. Like I've just personally used like the Calm app before, where they'll do like a little guided meditation. You put your headphones in, you like lay on like a floor or whatever, or sit in like a comfy chair, and oftentimes like it's the coaxing, it's like it's just kind of giving you like a little prompts that like sort of like work you. It's almost like navigating you through like a dark room with like a blindfold on.
I feel like having someone say it like keeps your own mind from wandering.
Yeah. Like there's like a degree of like enablement that comes from that coaching, and it's similarly like when I've done like my like polar plunges, like the ice baths and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started doing them outside of my house, like Alice had watched a bunch of videos with me on how to do it, and she would come out there and literally just be like, Ben, breathe. You are safe. You are okay. You can do this. Like, and like all these like little like words of like encouragement kind of like kept bringing me back to like, you know, like a piece of center where it was kind of like, you're right. Like I am okay. Like I chose to do this. Like I am in a safe place. Like worst case scenario, I get out. Like, you know, everything is okay. But like, it was odd because all of those things I knew to be true anyway. I was optionally doing this.
Right.
You know, like I was the one who walked outside in my bathing suit in, you know, 30-degree weather to hop into a tank of water. Like,
right.
You know, but hearing somebody say it inside of that moment of like what is otherwise overwhelming physiological panic does help you to like sort of like calm down. And when you calm down, you stop being so cold. And so anyway, like, you know, I can definitely understand a piece of how that works. So anyway, yeah, Alice goes and she makes this appointment, and she goes to the experience, and I think that the takeaway was it was not super legit.
Not super legit? Oh, no.
with this particular provider, and I think that she found it to be a little bit quirky. I don't think that Alice like successfully was like taken out of her head. I don't think that the room that like went black and white, similar to what you were saying.
Okay.
However, the provider she was working with recommended this book, which is by Eckhart Tolle. And it is like, you know, I think the book is called like New Earth, A Spiritual Awakening, which, you know, it's like, that's the point of it, where it's like, I need to sort of like set you up so that as I start to like peel back the layers, it's sort of like, okay, he did say cult to lead off with. So when we hear the title of the book,
it is a very crunchy title.
It's a little bit, like there's a certain vibe about it. The sort of description is that you're supposed to ascend to the fifth dimension. However, the fifth dimension, as described, is almost exactly what you described, which is like that feeling of like colors taking on like a greater degree of vibrance. I mean, it's in a lot of ways it is probably this phenomenon of living truly intentionally, purposefully inside of the moment and allowing all things to sort of like, you know, like be received for what they are, like the beauty that is everything.
Right. They've just sort of like used a bunch of I don't know, maybe like, I don't want to say like supernatural sounding words, but like spiritual sounding words just to like attach names to physical experiences you could have. Yeah, and so literally the note that I have written down here myself is that like everything that I have read inside of this book does not feel like the idea of like a spiritual awakening to me, like I would have like red flashing lights sort of going off, kind of like I don't really know if I know what that means. Right. Like because that's not something that I personally feel attuned to. But I do think that it's like I interpreted a lot of like what I was listening to as more like psychological. Like I feel like I could understand like what the brain is doing and everything that's going on. So there's a few different like layers to it that I found to be kind of fascinating. One of them was almost exactly like what you said. So it is that ability to see the vibrancy of the colors, to see like whatever, because one of the examples that they give like in the opening section of it is basically describing how millions and millions of years ago, the earth was full of, you know, not quite animal life yet, but plants, you know, and, you know, the plants had not yet turned to flowering plants because flowers are innately like delicate in nature. But then at some point in time, the flower had to emerge. And the first ever flower that did emerge probably was very fleeting and did not last long because of this delicacy. But as time went on, they continued to be created and there became flowers of the world. And flowers are things that we are drawn to as beautiful. However, they are also like the representation of the first ever things that we as like humans, like intelligent species, would place value on, despite the fact that they don't provide like any specific utility. Okay. So like if you're to go back to like a pre-currency area, flowers could have been one of the very first things to ever be
valued.
Sure.
And I think that this idea of like ascending or whatever would be the idea of like us as either as an individual or as a society blossoming, so you starting to see why I started how I started. I can feel your skepticism.
I know. Yes. Good.
Yes. Okay. However,
it is thick.
It is thick. Yes. So I agree. Trust me. I am with you.
Okay.
But there's something, I mean, you and I love the book, The Kingkiller Chronicles, The Name of the Wind.
Yep.
And a huge theme inside of The Name of the Wind is that basically it's like to fully and fundamentally understand something like the wind. It's like you can speak it by its truest name. It's
right.
It is no longer a word to you. It is something that you are familiar with. It is like a thing you have come to understand its irregular movements and behaviors and such.
Yeah.
And so I think that like this actually came out before Rothfuss wrote The Name of the Wind, the original. And so there's actually a huge, like, as I was like listening to this entire book, I was like, Rothfuss definitely read this
book,
because it seems like a lot of what it's describing is almost what you witnessed was like the name of the color red
right
on that person's shirt, like
right.
the most vibrant red you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
And so I think that like what they're saying is like when you look at a flower, there's sometimes like you almost like enter into like you awaken your sleeping mind, like they would say in Name of the Wind or whatever, but it's almost like you see its beauty for exactly what it is, and you don't think of it as a flower anymore. It's like almost becoming one with the name of flowers.
Okay.
And so you are just seeing it for the beauty that it is.
Right. Okay.
And so then it's kind of like that's the baseline example, which I understand is like medium convoluted and kind of like you said, crunchy maybe a little bit, where it's kind of like, okay. However, then I think as you take it like one step forward to like practical application, it's like what would ever cause society or individuals to have such a sort of like phenomenon, such an experience of sorts. And what's fascinating about it to me is it actually brought me back to the Carousel of Progress.
Oh, at Disney World?
At Disney World.
Yeah. Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow?
It's a great big beautiful tomorrow. Yeah. But the thing about the Carousel of Progress that's always stood out to me is, in case you've never done it before, it's this like rotating stage that Walt Disney himself had created for the New York City World's Fair, I believe in 1960 something.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And basically what it is, it has a lot of like animatronics, and it's showing like the United States of America through the 1900s. And it's basically demonstrating like as the decades went on, each new piece of technology that had been delivered to the world. So things like, like a refrigerator or a dishwasher, or, like when you think forward into the future, like a stove that you can command to, turn to 400 degrees or whatever. And it's sort of like, as the stage turns each time, he's kind of like, I just can't imagine how the world,
how life could get better,
how life could get any better.
Yeah.
But as each time it turns, you start to see like, like new advancements were made, which meant that other responsibilities from day-to-day life had been removed.
Right.
And in doing so, it's almost like, it's like as we're able to take the responsibilities of life and change the way that we can then interact with our world, it's almost like we can slowly pare off these simple responsibilities. Mm-hmm. And then what's left is the ability to pursue new things that are less utility based in nature. So it's like the flower again. It's like by going and painting or drawing or singing or engaging in some kind of art form of some kind, those are things that are not necessarily like harvesting a field or like carrying a milk jug or whatever. It's like this is taking it's putting emphasis on creativity instead.
Okay.
And I think that in doing that, like especially then as you think about like society and less of a dishwasher and more of like roads or bridges or buildings or like air conditioning, like programs to make sure the world runs as it does. It's like as time goes on and all of this compounds, it allows us to start to think about more creative endeavors and less necessary
Right. Like if all of your if everyone's needs are effectively met for most of the time.
Right.
Like then does humanity achieve like a more like Zen state or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it's like almost like fits like a glove. Because I think the foundation of Zen actually came from a Buddhist monk who was giving a sermon where he walked out, and this is all in the book, but he walks out, he holds a flower and says nothing. He just stares at the flower. And there's like all these other monks who are looking on, and after like an hour of silence, one of the monks smiles.
Right.
And it's almost like that one singular monk is the one person who like understood the meaning of the sermon, which was just beauty.
Right.
Like no words were required. Just appreciate it.
Just appreciation.
And that is the foundational building block for Zen as we know it.
Right.
Which is fascinating. So anyway, I mean, this is just sort of, that's like the intro.
Okay, right.
Yeah. Does that mean anything?
Is that suggesting like that's the ultimate like goal of human existence, is to just like be born and appreciate the world?
I don't know if it's the goal or if it's just sort of like what, like the next step that you could foresee taking place.
Okay.
I mean, I know I always go back to that hierarchy of needs thing.
Yeah.
And I know it drives you nuts. Because I think about it more than probably any other living human being who doesn't teach Psych 101 at a university. But I think the fundamental basis for the hierarchy of needs, as I've probably brought up on numerous occasions, is, on the most simple level, when you look at it, you've got, air, food, water, shelter.
Right.
And it's like, when I tend to think about that, I tend to think anybody who is solely focused on achieving food, water, shelter. So like imagine you're out in like a primitive environment and you're attempting to make sure that you have enough calories to make it through the next day.
Right.
Or you have like a family around you or a tribe around you, and it's like, okay, like I need to make sure that like we don't know where the next meal comes from. Food is vitally important. How much do you think that person cares about how good they are at pickleball?
Right. Yeah. Like they don't
at all.
Right.
So the idea is that like, if it gets to the stage where it's like, okay, those needs are met, then you're able to climb the pyramid to the next section. And the general trajectory that any individual would, the relationship they may have with the hierarchy of needs is achieving the top tier, which is what is referred to as self-actualization. That would be becoming the best version of who you are. Mm-hmm. Something that you're not able to achieve until all the other needs have been met. It is a very privileged place to reside.
Right.
But when you apply that analogy to society and you start to think like, okay, we have buildings, we have roads, we have automobiles. Like, it's like we are ascending that hierarchy a little bit.
Right. Like you're trying to take care of more and more things.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So it's like, if all of us as a collective reach that top tier of self-actualization, then I guess the argument would be that would be whatever. The book would argue that's what this fifth dimension is called. I would argue it would be an interesting place to live in.
Yeah.
That's when it all boils down to it. Like, I know I'm speaking very, philosophically, very ethereal, about this concept. I'm not like, on a newfound mission in life to show people the light. I am just merely like hearing, interpreting, listening, and applying, because like I myself have always
applying how
applying to like my own thought processes as to like what as we learn and grow, like what we can value. Because I do think somebody like I almost have like one hand tightly wrapped around like utility based things, like things that are highly functional and purposeful. Mm-hmm. And I think that like embracing like arts is something that like I have like more struggled to do. Like I like even like what we do here at Super Carlin Brothers, like I don't tend to see as like necessarily like an art form that I feel like I am continuously expanding.
Right.
But like it would be interesting to see it that way.
Yeah.
To be like, oh, what would it look like to modify my art form.
Right.
You know, to take it and interpret it that way and then attempt to share that with the world.
Okay.
So,
all right.
That's the thought.
That's your thought. Okay. So this is mostly just supposed to be like rolling around in your brain for a while.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we went on a long drive to New York, and Alice and I listened to like 4 or 5 hours of this book, and it's remarkably dense in nature. And the number of times that we just had to like pause it and be like, okay, what does that mean? But anyway, that's where I'm at.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing.
Thanks. Yeah.
Do you feel self-actualized?
No, not yet. I mean,
not yet.
It's a journey.
The real irony will be when you're like 70 and you're like, I think I got there when I was like 30.
Yeah, I know.
And this whole time you've just been like, the only thing you haven't realized is that.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. That'd be so interesting. Yeah. To follow up on your point, basically, like, do you think there's a world where you get to age 70 and you're like, wow, 30-year-old me basically just had it figured out?
I mean, I'm curious what you think is stopping you from being at the top of your pyramid here.
Well, I know, and I mean, it's very interesting. Like, because Alice sent me another thing. Let me see if I can find it really quick as I'm talking about it here, because like it is probably like one of those things that like actualization feels very vague. It feels very wimbly wombly.
It does
in terms of like what that would actually mean.
Right.
And I think that there's a chance that like you're someone who I do genuinely believe like lives in such a way that I think is unique. Like I feel like you have always done a really phenomenal job of like living like very like content. Like you're very like centered on like who you are and
like living very true to myself.
Yes. Yeah. Which I think is amazing. Like it makes you like a great person. I think I sometimes think it's like it could be rarer than maybe you realize, because you're like, well, this is my normal, so surely it's everybody's normal, and it's like I think it's not.
Right.
Which could be.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes. Yeah. But so this was kind of interesting. So Alice is going to do this thing, and she has this like stages of spiritual awakening again. To go back to this, but
let's hear it.
The thing that she thought was very interesting is she was like, I wonder if you're like you on your own with no guidance from anybody is just kind of doing this based on like what this wheel would dictate the stages are.
Okay, what are the stages of spiritual awakening?
I know, yes. Which again, like, I'm more of a psychology person than a spiritual person. Just
yeah.
That's usually where I'm coming from, if that helps clarify any of this. But okay, stage 1, dark night of the soul. Feelings of loss, hopelessness, or confusion. Stage 2 is disillusionment. Complacency with life is replaced by dissatisfaction with how things are. Stage 3 is seeking deeper meanings and experiencing breakthroughs. Stage 4 is inner work, which is mindfulness, shadow work, inner child work, and deep introspection, which is what I think I've been doing for the past few years of my life. And then stage 5 is, it says connection with the divine, deep alignment with life, community, and inspiration. And so to me, what this means more than anything is because again, like I don't have a specific relationship with the divine. However, I do think that I'm someone who, like, I'm a watcher of people. Like, I think that I can tend to understand people's like motivations. And like, I think that like, like when I'm listening to people talk, I'm trying to figure out like every layer of what is causing them to say the things that they are saying. Mm-hmm. It's like, what is informing all of their thoughts, feelings, and concerns? And like, is it something that is like actively holding them back from progressing forward in life and these types of things? And sometimes I think I'm actually reasonably good at assessing this in other people, but I'm really, really bad at assessing it inside of myself. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think I'm very good at identifying like my own passions or like the things that like light a fire underneath me or make me very excited or driven or whatever, and then making sure that I'm consistently keeping those things close to me.
Okay.
So like I think sometimes I accident my way into them. So like, we certainly talked about like rock climbing a lot in the past, where it's like, I think that was one where it was like, I found it, and I do think that I was like closer to a sense of like, oneness where I felt very like in rhythm with myself. I think felt very confident. I knew how to make myself like happy. I was very motivated by the activity that I was doing. It was kind of driving me in this like very like upward trajectory type of thing, way. But then it was also like at some point in time, like the sun almost seemed to like set on that activity, that aspect, that like, and it was almost like it ceased to be able to provide me with what it once did. But during the period of time that I was inside of it, I was like, oh, this is amazing.
Why do you think it set?
I don't know. I mean, I've always wondered if it was like a performance plateau, like where I found something that for years, every single time I went and touched the wall, I was better than the time I was before. Mm-hmm. So there was nothing more fun than just going up.
Right.
You know, because it was like each day it was like, I couldn't do this yesterday. I can't today. You know, and it was like, even with like other fitness endeavors and stuff like that, like it never really felt to me like with, you know, running or biking or any of the other sports, soccer, you know, that I've ever done in my life, where it was kind of like, yeah, I've been training hard and I can tell. And like, I'm getting better. I'm getting faster. I can kick the ball harder. I can pass the ball more accurately. Like, you know, it never translated to that to me. It was like you go to practice and
I feel like I know what you mean, because like so often it's like when like I think about like when I started doing like basketball and soccer, like as a kid, it was like, was the goal in doing that to like become really good? Like I'm trying to think, like, you know, for the most part, it was like I would sign up every year because it was fun to play, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
You know, I'd go to practice because that was part of being on the team. But I wasn't ever at practice like, let me really focus in on getting better at layups. Let me really focus on like this like passing, or let me really focus on this. Like, you know, there was a period between like 7th and 8th grade, like when we were moving, when I was like really determined to get like a lot better at basketball.
Yep.
And there was like during that period, like I was really determined in that one regard. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, basketball is a fun thing I like doing. It was like, I want to be better. And it was like really like an outlet for me.
Sure.
More than anything. But like I got a lot better.
Yes.
Like it was like noticeable, and it was like, but it was like the kind of like determination that I had not really put towards many things before then. And even when I think about like cross country and stuff, like we did it for 4 years, and it was like I felt like I like defined myself as like a runner, you know?
Yeah.
Like if you were to ask me like what do you do? Or like, I'm a runner. That was like my being. But at the same rate, it wasn't like I was going to practice with like I need to get my times down mentality. It was like, I'm a runner in the sense that I am on this team, and going to practice is a part of being on the team. And practice is hard and it's uncomfortable, and races are hard and uncomfortable, but like maybe I'll just be faster this time. You know,
yes.
It wasn't like I've got a plan. This is how it's gonna look, and it's gonna translate into these results. You know, it was like it often felt like our coaches had that plan, but they wouldn't tell you how it was supposed to work. They were just hoping you would like accident upon it on race day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that assessment. Yeah. And you're right though. Like, cause I mean, there were people on our team. Like I went to, you know, like I was growing up with a guy who ended up doing some running for like Team USA in some capacity.
Yeah.
Who was in my grade. But like, I remember he'd be like the kind of guy, like we would go to practice Monday through Friday, and like, you know, you have a meet on a Saturday or whatever. But like, if we didn't have a meet on Saturday, he was like going somewhere to go run somewhere specific, to enact a specific kind of like training, to go and talk to somebody who could like advance his like sport. And I was like, Tim, what are you doing, man? Like going and like using your Saturday to like do more practice. We just had 5 in a row. Like,
right.
You know, it's like, you know, it's like he was like, you know, Sunday was like his rest day because he had to.
Right.
You know, it was like you needed to like take one day off to like let your legs like recover. But it's like clear to me that there was a very obvious like zest, desire, like I am going because I need to be going, versus like more like half the time it was raining really hard at, you know, during 8th period. I was like, maybe practice will be canceled today.
Right.
You know, and I'll get out of running 10 miles after work, or after, you know, after this.
Right.
And most of the time that didn't happen. And I was like, oh man, it was raining so hard. And right at 3:15 it stopped, and now it's just humid.
Humid.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's always how it happened.
It is always how it happened. But so anyway, I think that like, to me, I think finding like that sort of like sense of like understanding your like sense of self in such a way, and like what like kind of like makes you tick as a person, is something that I think resides in all of us, you know, and it's something that I think, it's like it does take sampling and discovery and probably, you know, like some conveniently placed people along the way to encourage you, like yourself, you know. I mean, like you and Beth must have asked me to go rock climbing 20 times before I finally was like, okay, I'll come.
Right.
Like, you know, like, sure, I'll be there, you know. And then I got there and I was like, this is awesome.
Right.
You know, but it's like, the point was that, like, I mean, it ended up being one of these things for me, and it came with a huge amount of hesitance.
Right.
So, you know, it's funny to think, like, you know, what it could be for other people, where it may literally be something that you were actively saying, no, I don't want to go do that. And it's like, that might be the thing.
Oh, I know. Yes. This is why, like, often when I encounter hesitance from people in life to like try new things, I have very little time for it.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm just
yeah.
you just, what are you talking about? It just feels like you're being like my 6-year-old, you know?
Right.
Like you're just saying no.
Right.
But
right.
yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think there's a huge sense of doubt, or like a lack of inner confidence or something, you know, involved there that probably, you know, like could be there under the right circumstances. You know, I think sometimes it's like, even like that opportunity, like, because you want to, like, I suspect this happens in new relationships sometimes, like people discover this, because I think when you are early on and you want to, like, you know, impress or make a positive impression, or maybe even because you're more open-minded because this person you're interested in likes a thing that you've otherwise had hesitation about, it cracks that door to be like, you know what, I'll try it because they're really into it.
Right.
You know, and then maybe you discover something about yourself.
Right. Then like, oh, turns out I really like it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And so anyway, I mean, I think, you know, it's not just hobbies though. I think it is sort of like a, you know, how you approach the various, like, ups and downs, ins and outs, high points, low points in life, maybe is like by best understanding who you are as a person, and then once discovering that information, attempting to seek out opportunities to fuel that, right, you know, in a way that's meaningful. And I don't know. So that's the quest.
That's the quest. Which is why the beer mile is going to be so great, Ben.
Dude, I am excited about the beer mile.
The actualization.
The actualization of the beer mile. No, the beer mile is, I actually think this is a great example of one of these things that is happening where, like, it's a distance out. It's a quirky, stupid, like, ridiculous activity in terms of, like, relative, I would say, those things based on goals I've previously had. Not that I actually believe it is any of those things. It is a fun thing that we are doing. Yeah. And in doing this fun thing, it has motivated me to, like, drink tons of water. Yeah. Which is healthy for me. And it's like, you know, it's nice to have this, like, target reason why I'm doing it, because, and I say tons of water, it's like you're training for a beer mile and drinking lots of water.
Because we're practicing the drinking part.
We're practicing the drinking part, but you're obviously not going to practice the drinking part with, like, libations, because that would be ridiculous.
Because then you'd be drunk.
Yes. So it's like, it's not like I'm just, like, waiting till, like, Friday night and be like, okay, gotta get another rep in now that it's the weekend. Yeah. No. So, you know, it's like we have, like, our little, like, solo cups here in office that all have our names written on them, and we've been using the same ones for weeks now. And we've got a paper towel that we're writing all of our times on, and it's hilarious.
We're tracking it
and goofy. But yeah, then, like, you know, we're going to the track and we're sprinting, and it's like, you know, I'm out there and I'm, like, pushing myself through paces that is, like, very difficult.
I know.
And it's like,
it is so weird because, like, I remember doing track workouts once upon a time, and my goal in doing track workouts, or when we had to do them for practice, was 1,000% to finish the track workout without dying.
Yes.
You know, it was not like, oh, I am doing this so I'll get faster. It's like, I'm hoping to complete it without death.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Like it is, and it's such a different mindset where like now I'm like, my goal is to get faster. Like I want to be faster as a result of this. I want to make sure I'm doing it and giving myself rest and drinking the water and stretching, and I want to be faster 10 weeks from now, you know?
Yes, yeah. I mean, even the way you said that, though, it's like I can go back to one of the famous workouts our cross country did was 20 reps times 400 meters. So,
yes.
So 20 laps around a track, and they were all done individually with a time goal set.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, quick math will tell you that's a 5-mile high octane workout.
Yes.
Because, you know, 4 laps is 1 mile.
Yeah.
And this was like one of those things like where as the workout was unfolding, it's like in my mind, I was resenting our coaches for punishing us with this exercise, with this like routine. It's like, why are you doing this, you guys? This is so like mean, you know? And so I feel like a lot of like, you know, what they must have been receiving from me was that resentment, when otherwise they're like, dude, you joined the running team.
Right.
We are here running. Like, why are you so mad?
Right.
Like, and it's like, because you're making us run really hard. It's like, that's what running team is. It's like, even you never could have explained that to me in that moment and gotten it through my head.
Right.
You know, so it's like, I feel like I remember like a kind of like animosity of like, why are you doing this to us?
Know. I remember we'd get, because we'd always, for that particular workout, we would go to this like college and run on their track because it was like, you know, better for your legs and stuff. And you'd get there and you know what the workout was, and then be like, all right, let's go do like a mile warm up. And you'd be like, it honestly never felt like, let's do a mile warm up so that you're loose, so that you can like put down better times, so that you don't get injured. Like it honestly, it so often felt like, won't it be hilarious if we make them run a mile before they have to do this 5-mile workout?
Yes.
Like it always felt like you're just making it harder. Like it never like, and it's like stupid because realistically, that was not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to avoid injuries and stuff like that.
And like warm up your legs.
Yes, and warm up your legs and stuff like that. But it was never, it felt like it was, that was never the feeling. The feeling was always that like, if I go run a mile before this, there's no, like it took all of the confidence out of me doing the workout.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, there's no way I'll be able to complete it now. And then you'd finish and we're like, let's do a mile cool down. It would be like, I'm going to die. You know?
Yeah. It's like, we've already gone like, so hard.
Right.
No, you're right though. But then on the flip side, last week we get to the track. We're all excited about our beer mile. It's gonna be so much fun. You know, me, you, and Mike are out there, and it's like, let's do that mile warm up. And it's like before, like when my like legs started like trotting this like 1 mile warm up lap, or you know, like whatever. I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know how I'm gonna sprint today. Like my legs are so tight. You get to the end of the mile warm up, and you're like, I'm loosened up. I'm feeling a little better about this. My heart rate's kind of like elevated. You know, like I feel like I'm ready. It's like, oh,
yes,
that's why we did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, it's like, it is all a matter of perspective. So it's like, if there was a way to go back to high school Ben, you know, to like travel back in time and find a way to convey to him that like all of this stuff is part of a winning formula, then I think that I would have even like excelled more than I did anyway.
Oh, I know. Like I think I was talking, like Beth is training for a marathon right now, and she'll come back and she'll be like, I keep like accidentally doing progression runs, and she'll like show me her splits, and it'll be like every single mile was faster than the last mile, and I'm like, that is amazing. This is awesome. Keep it up. Like this is how it's supposed to go.
Right.
You know, and like I will remember being back there and I'm like, why? Like, you know, like we did all these long base runs and stuff, but like the way like Beth is training is like, you know, when she goes on her long runs, like she is like running slower than she even normally would on purpose, because it's like, I'm training at this particular heart rate, and the training says, like all the research says, if you train at this heart rate, then it just gets your body to like raise its VO2 max so that you can go faster later on. It's just like, you know, no one would explain that to us as kids, or maybe that's what they were trying to do, was like, yes, on the base runs, run slow, but then no one did.
No one did.
You know,
slow.
no one did. It always turned into these like giant, like 60-minute, like go really hard, see if you can keep up with the top group. And it's like, no, the whole top group should have been running at this like very slow pace. And the point was that we just did it for a long time, not that we ran fast for a long time.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I mean though, is I guess to keep trying to like pull it back to this like center point is like, are there aspects like, this is like maybe going out more to like the little kernels than it even would be to like you as like, the co-host here, but it's like, are there things that you're actively doing in life where you're like fighting the grain every step of the way, where you're resisting like leaning into something where instead you could actively be like finding a way to, well, one, either identifying this is not an activity I want to be doing. That is okay. That is a completely acceptable outcome to this thing. It's like, do not feel like you're locked into it because you've done it before. And it's like, if you're going against the grain to do it, then don't feel like you have to do it. You're allowed to let that go. But then in the meantime, it's also like, is there a world where you can like reframe it in your mind to think like, I want to excel, and my desire to excel like influences my preparation for that, and therefore you've now brought like a much better mental perspective to the task at hand.
Yeah, I remember I went through something like this when I was working at the concert venue.
Nice, bingo.
As ever, bingo for you there. Where like when I got there, like I hadn't majored in marketing or anything, so I was having to do like a lot of like learning on the job how to do the stuff and whatever. And it just like at first it felt like there was so much emphasis on like how can we sell more tickets, like what can we do? And it was like eventually I reframed it, and it was just like it was more like a game of how can I like be really productive. And so every day at work was not about selling tickets, it was about like completing everything on my to-do list.
Okay.
And the good news was, if you completed all those things, you would complete tasks that would help sell tickets.
Right.
But like, I felt like I had a much different mindset where other people like would still have that, like our goal is to really move that ticket number up. And it's like, my goal is to complete the most number of things every day.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
And like, by the end, I was very, very good at it. I had there was whenever you had new shows coming in, you could do something called like trade tickets, where a lot of times you would like contact a radio station and you would say like, hey, we can't spend money with you, but we can give you this many tickets to like give out to your audience. Can you run spots for us for that or whatever?
Right. Yeah.
And like if it was the big radio station, they would normally say like, no, because they just want money. But if like a little radio station, this is like maybe good for listenership. Like, if I listen to this radio station, I have better odds of winning tickets to whatever upcoming show is. So I had like a list of like 20 radio stations. And I remember when I got there, it was like, you set up some trades, and it was like, this was really like, it was like a huge process doing it. But like by the end, I had like templates going. I could like copy and paste, boom, bam, boom, bam, boom. I had like charts and Excel sheets, and it was just like bam, 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 bam. Ha, I'm so fast at this. Like I got it all figured out. This is so good. Like, yeah. And so I don't know. It was interesting though, because we'd get like the tickets reports back, and it was just like, it just didn't matter. Like I did not care about selling tickets.
Right.
Like that, like even though that was the goal of my job, it was like, I didn't really care. Because it never felt like the success of the show, like made a huge impact on me personally. It was like, so show sold out. Great. You get a good job. Show sold 60%. It was like, better luck next time. But like my job was the same.
Right.
So just do everything you had to do.
Yes. Yep. And then see if it ends up yielding in the results somewhere.
Right.
But yeah, like I think sometimes like, that's the other thing is like your primary goal usually can't be like being the best or winning or something. Like sometimes it's too abstract. It's like, it almost needs to be like a love, like for the love of the game. Yeah. And I think like when that happens, the end result is winning or being the best. But it's oftentimes like that. It's not a good goal because it's not clear what it means.
Right.
It's like that is more of like an outcome that comes as a byproduct of like lots of other work, not usually people who have like fixated on that particular outcome. So anyway, yeah, I mean, it's all just sort of like interesting, fascinating mental reframing, I guess, that like I mean, it's something I think I'm always attempting to do, but then when I can find, text or literature or something that like helps, inform my own methodology, so I'm not just like inventing my own textbook, that is absolutely where I'm coming from. It's like, okay, I felt like a lot of thoughts that I was maybe like flirting around in my head. It's like, I feel like I've almost discovered like a piece of source material that is taking a lot of the complicated thoughts and putting them into like well-crafted sentences that are easy to digest.
Yeah. Like someone else had these thoughts and they researched it thoroughly and they put it in a book, and now it is clear and concise.
Yes.
For me. Yeah.
Yes. And so it's like, that being said, it's like, I think I could recommend the book and not feel like I'm recommending a cult.
Yeah.
to bring it full circle.
There you go.
Yeah. So if you wanted to check out New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, it's spelled Tolle, but I was looking it up before we recorded because I didn't want to get it wrong. I was like, everybody's going to be like, I think he's German, so I don't know if maybe that's like where the pronunciation key comes from there. But
okay,
yeah, we'll be sure to link it in the show notes if you want to go and check it out.
Yeah.
If
you want to reach the fifth dimension with Ben,
I kind of want you to read it.
You want me to read it?
I want you to read it because I want to hear your feedback. I don't think that you would be thrown by it in the slightest. Like I really don't think it feels. I don't think it feels like something that you would be like, this is not for me. Yeah. I think you would just find it to be interesting, but it has to be done in small pieces because it is like denser than a fruitcake.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think fruitcakes are dense.
I think so.
Famously.
Yes, famously.
Yeah.
Thick cake.
Thick cake. Yeah. Like the stuff that they have like only during like the holidays. Like,
right.
It's like, yeah. I feel like people always refer to them as like doorstops.
I know. Yeah. They are the butt of many a joke. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's like I will also joke about it, and I'm like, I don't think I've ever had fruitcake. Like maybe it's really good.
I know. Yeah. It's like joke's on us. It's amazing.
Joke's on us. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe let us know. Have you ever had fruitcake before?
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, if you have feedback for the show, you can send it on over to popcornculturepod@gmail.com. Or if you'd like to support the show, you can do so at patreon.com/popcornculture. We do very much appreciate all of your support, but otherwise, until next time.
Pop.
Today's episode was edited by Isybelle Christley. Vaishon Brandon does our art. Catherine Stein is our production manager, and the show is hosted by me and Jonathan Carlin.